let's talk about phrasing survey questions. Here's some things to bear in mind as you phrase survey questions. Avoid leading questions, also known as slanted questions. These are questions that are phrased in such a way as to elicit a certain response. For example, suppose you wanted to determine the level of support for gun control. Consider these two questions. Do you support reasonable restrictions on the purchase of weapons by mentally ill people and criminals? Do you think that the federal government should interfere with your Second Amendment right to bear arms by restricting the purchase of handguns? Well, the first question elicits a response of yes, I think that's entirely reasonable, that we should have reasonable restrictions on the purchase of weapons. This is what you would ask if you want to show that America is generally pro-gun control. On the other hand, the other question, interfering with the Second Amendment right to bear arms, this is going to elicit an answer of no in general because it's got these loaded words, interfere, Second Amendment, etc. And this is going to show, if you ask this question, you'll probably show that people in America are anti-gun control. So again, the way you phrase the question affects the answer you get. These are both examples of leading questions. Recognize that some topics are delicate. For example, people may not want to truthfully answer questions about income, drug use, sexual orientation, etc. They'll want to give socially desirable answers. Anonymous surveys may be useful in such circumstances. Response bias is the tendency to give inaccurate or untruthful answers. This may result from a slanted question or a question about a delicate topic. So in either of those examples that we looked at earlier, you might encounter response bias. Another thing to bear in mind as you phrase survey questions is to ask specific rather than general questions. Here's an example from our text. People are not very good at estimating their typical behavior, so it is better to ask, how many hours did you sleep last night, as opposed to, how many hours do you usually sleep? Avoid unclear questions. Recently I was asked in a credit card application, what's your income? It's not clear if they mean my personal income, just me, or my household income, which is usually what's asked for in credit card applications, so I wasn't sure how to answer that one. Avoid long and complex questions. These confuse people, and you're going to end up with inaccurate answers. And lastly, keep the survey short. People may refuse to answer long surveys. This leads to non-response bias. It's a bias that's introduced when the people who don't respond to your survey are different from people who do respond to your survey. Because to be honest, the people who do respond to a long survey, they're people who have lots of time on their hands, and those people may not be representative of the population in general. When I, for example, survey my alumni at Trinity, I ask them that's it. I just send out an email survey via SurveyMonkey with just 2 questions on it because I want to maximize the response rate.